welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 542 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, now we ask you to agree with me and mention to hear me out. You know why the talking stage is so important? You know why consultations are so important? You know why the initial early stages of anything is so important? Because you need to know if the person that you're talking to, the person that you're going to be in business with, the company that you're going to be in business with, anything, you need to know that they're the right fit. You need to know that this relationship, no matter what type of relationship it is going to be harmonious. That is one of the most important things about the talking stage, consultation stage, the early stages. The worst thing that you can do is go through the talking stage, go through the consultation stage, see red flags, and still go through with it. Because at the end of the day, those red flags are more glaring in the moment than they are in the talking stage. And you want to make sure that whatever you pick, whoever you pick, is the right fit for you and whatever you want. The same way we talk about relationships, the same way we talk about jobs, the same way that we talk about, how important the consultation stage is, the same goes for head coaches. The worst thing that you can do is pick a head coach knowing that that head coach is not the right fit, but still take him anyways. That doesn't usually happen. But let's talk about the case of Brian Kelly. Because as we speak, Brian Kelly has been dismissed, a.k.a. fired. I love how for some people they say dismissed, for some people they say fired. He got fired as the head coach from the LSU Tigers. And the reason why I wanted to start this episode with consultation stage, relationship stage, is because it was almost uniform that when we heard that Brian Kelly was going to be the head coach for the LSU Tigers, I don't know too many people that thought this was going to work. From SEC analysts, from college football analysts in general, not too many people thought that this was going to work. Let's talk about why. Not only does Brian Kelly have sort of a checkered past when we talk about college football as a coach, but you're coming from Notre Dame. You see, Notre Dame is not LSU, and that's no disrespect to Notre Dame. But Notre Dame is not LSU. And even at Notre Dame, while there was some type of success, Brian Kelly never got to the ultimate success at Notre Dame. You're going from a school that has no conference to the SEC. You see, there's a couple reasons why Brian Kelly failed, but the first one was simple. I say this all the time, and I kind of wanted a fresher way of saying it to start the episode, but to be completely honest, the overarching reason is fit matters. And again, I'm not saying that Brian Kelly is a bad coach, but fit matters. I'll give you a broader example. I myself am good at basketball. I'm really good at basketball. I'm not a professional or anything, but I'm good at basketball. I play basketball multiple times a week. I played college ball. I played middle school. I played elementary school. I'm good at basketball. I play better on a team where there's somebody next to me that can create their own shot compared to me having to be the star. Not saying I can't be the star, but I play better when I have somebody else that can create their own shot. That doesn't mean I can't fit with both teams. It just means I fit better somewhere else. When you hear Brian Kelly, from the awkward opening press conference to the interview to him trying to change his voice, it seemed like he knew he didn't fit. He wasn't a match for LSU. Yet and still, he tried his hardest. But sometimes that Lego piece just doesn't fit. Again, it also goes, expectations also plays a huge part. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what James Franklin went through at Penn State. James Franklin was more of a fit for Penn State than Brian Kelly was for LSU, but his expectations. You go from Notre Dame to LSU, expectation is to win, especially when you have the record that Brian Kelly has. Again, I'm not saying that he's a bad coach. He's an exceptional coach when you just look at his record. But you're going to SEC. You're going to the SEC, and you had some success at Notre Dame. You're expecting that and more because there's more resources. It's easier to recruit in the SEC. You're expected to do more. Not to mention, if you want to even go micro, coming into the season, LSU had a top 5 recruiting class. They had a Heisman front runner. You would think that LSU would be in prime position to compete for a national championship. Not only would you think that by the recruiting and by just how talented the team is, but you would think that because you also look, going into the season, you didn't think much about Texas A&M, even though they're really good. You didn't think much about Alabama because of Kellen DeBoer. You thought LSU was supposed to be the number 1 team in the SEC. Now, as we speak, I think they have 3 losses, which means not only are they not winning anything in the SEC, they're not even going to the college football playoffs. It's pretty much a done deal. Brian Kelly, I don't think he was ever going to work at LSU. There are some faults with Brian Kelly. It doesn't seem like he takes accountability as the head coach a lot. Some of the things that he's done, if you want to go look it up, but he hasn't been the easiest coach to deal with. It was never going to work. You know, it's funny that I brought up James Franklin because, and I'm not saying that these are the only schools they can go to, but I was watching the Oregon and Wisconsin game, and Wisconsin has had a tough season. They've had a tough season. From quarterback injuries to their second string not working out to the coach, they've had a tough year. And I was thinking, someone like Brian Kelly, someone like James Franklin would be monumental at somewhere like Wisconsin, where the expectations aren't that high. And that's no offense to them, but that's just the God-honest truth. You look at Brian Kelly. In fact, let me tell you guys is Brian Kelly's record as a head coach. So, as a head coach, Brian Kelly is 297, 109 losses and 2 ties. How you got 2 ties? I don't know. He has 2 NCAA Division II championships. He has 1 in the MEAC. Like, he has 2 Big East. Like, he's Brian Kelly with anywhere in the U.S. that's not the SEC. That's another thing. And again, I'm not trying to crap on any conference or crap on any team, but there's different expectations for the SEC. That's something that we know. They're in the South, bro. Like, they live and breathe football. Think about it like this. They have in the South, right? They have high school stadiums bigger than a lot of college stadiums. And I'm not saying that Brian Kelly doesn't also live and breathe football, but again, when you're an outsider, because again, he came from Notre Dame, and you try your best to integrate, but it's just not working, on top of the fact that you're not accomplishing the goals that you think that you're trying to accomplish. Yeah. And I do think it's interesting because I don't think he's done coaching. I think that he's going to get a coaching gig somewhere. But, I mean, just look at the coaches that's been fired. Him, Billy Napier, James Franklin. Like, there's going to be coaching vacancies. I think homie from Missouri. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but there's a lot of reasons why Brian Kelly was never going to work. A lot of it is him. He just doesn't have a SEC personality, and on top of that, you can tell when someone's being inauthentic. And it just, from a guy that's from Massachusetts, trying to have a southern accent, like, come on, brother. Recruiting, he nailed it. Recruiting, that's the thing, and that goes back to expectation. He knocked recruiting out the park. Again, LSU was a top 5 recruiting class going into this season. So you would think that, what are we, week 9? You would think that week 9 you wouldn't have 3 losses. On top of the fact that you didn't do much last year either. And you had a Heisman. Never mind. You had a Heisman winner in Jaden Daniels. And I don't even think they made the college football playoffs right here. It's just, on top of that, and the last thing I'm going to say, when you try to take this, or be careful. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not even going to say be careful. When you try to take this control everything CEO approach, you better make sure that pays off. I'm not saying that you don't try it. I'm not saying that you don't do it. But Brian Kelly tried to walk in with a stone hammer, tried to make everything the way that he wanted. And it's his program essentially, but that might work in Notre Dame if you're not winning. That doesn't work at LSU, bro. when you see the alumni that they have, when you see the NFL players that's currently playing right now, like that's not gonna work. And you're not winning. I don't think if he wants to continue to coach, I don't think he'll be out. I mean, they definitely probably have to wait until after the season, because we're in the middle of the season. So I don't know, but you just knew that it was never going to work from the start. Again, that's why I don't know how it would be, but even in the interview, I don't know who made the decision, but you had to know that this was going to be a failed talking stage. Or the talking stage, i.e. the interviews, were supposed to tell you this might not be a great fit. Maybe because the name Brian Kelly. Just look how it ended with Notre Dame and when he got this job. Now LSU is in the market for a new head coach, and this is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best coaching jobs available. Again, Florida is up there, even though you don't know what's going to happen with the AD, because apparently he has his hands in everything, or they have their hands in everything. Penn State's up there. You don't know. But you're hearing a lot about Lane Kiffin might go to LSU. I don't know. But Lane Kiffin, who's somebody that was under Nick Saban and at Alabama, the head coach of Ole Miss, he knows what it takes to be in the SEC. It didn't seem like Brian Kelly did. So I wish nothing but the best for him, but you knew from the start this wasn't going to be a good fit. And the worst part about it is, like, again, he knocked recruiting out the park. That's what made expectations much higher. LSU knocked out the recruiting class. Like they did exceptional. And right now, we're sitting here talking about a team that has 3 losses. We'll see what happens. Speaking of we'll see what happens, I am never going to sit here and perpetrate like I'm the toughest guy. I'm not. I know I have tattoos and everything, but I have a very low pain tolerance. Like, I be suffering through these tattoos. My whole arm and leg is tattooed, but I suffer through them, Jones. I have a couple more I have to do, but I'm not looking forward to it. So I'm never gonna sit here and think that I'm the machoist of men. I'm just a chill dude, bro. So in that, I will never sit here and act like, 1, I could be a UFC fighter, and 2, I know what it takes to be a UFC fighter. Hell, I haven't gotten a fight since my freshman year of college. And even that I'm not proud of. I'm never gonna sit here and say that I'm the toughest man alive. I'll protect what I have to protect. I'm not gonna take no disrespect, but I'm not the toughest man alive. So when I see football players or when I see UFC players, I just know, or UFC fighters or boxers, I just know that is not a realm, an avenue, a sector, an arena that I am ever going to be a part of. I can enjoy it. I enjoy it, obviously, as a fan. But I know I couldn't be no defensive player. I couldn't be a defensive tackle, a defensive end. I couldn't be a boxer. I couldn't be a UFC fighter. So I will never sit here and perpetrate like I could be one of those. And nor am I going to sit here and act like I understand what it takes to be one of those people. especially a UFC fighter. UFC 321 was on Saturday, and the main event was the heavyweight bout between Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane. And I think they were fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, going into this fight, there was already a lot of animosity built up for both fighters. For Tom Aspinall, who is the champion, and Cyril Gane. For Tom Aspinall, we know that a lot of people doesn't really feel like he deserved the heavyweight belt, even though he's beat, except for one person, he's beat everyone that he's fought. A lot of people were expecting, and even he was expecting, that his next fight be against Jon Jones. And there was a whole thing with Jon Jones, obviously his retirement, and he was saying, I'm not going to fight unless I get this amount. The UFC got to that amount, which then obviously, like I just said, brought on the retirement. Then Jon Jones said he's coming back if there's going to be able to fight the White House. It's just a lot. And Tom Aspinall was just sitting there like, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight. But that clearly didn't happen. Cyril Gane, last time I think we saw him fight was against Jon Bones Jones, and that was a quick fight. And Jon Jones just beat him. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm sure a UFC fan is going to tell me. I think that the only reason why Tom Aspinall was the heavyweight champion is because Jon Bone Jones had to vacate his belt, or had to vacate the belt. I could be wrong, but I do think that Tom Aspinall's championship was a vacated belt that had to go to him. So there's a lot of uneasiness going into this fight. On both sides was Tom Aspinall, even though I think only one fight has been past the first round. He's a heavy hitter. Only one fight has made it past the first round with him. Going into he's 15-3. Cyril Gane, is he still the Cyril Gane that we think? Did that Jon Bones loss just expose him? It was just a lot of questions going into it. The excitement, yes, but still questions. And I think now, after the fight, there's more questions and there's more frustration that I've seen in the world with for Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane than before. For people that didn't watch, which was only like 4 minutes long, Cyril Gane pokes Tom Aspinall in the eye. Tom Aspinall then says he can't see, and the fight is called off, is ruled a no contest, which means that there's no winner, there's no loser. And you're hearing three sides to this. You're hearing the Cyril Gane is a dirty fighter. He should have lost by disqualification. He should have been assessed a loss, not a no contest. This a cheap, dirty move. This, that, and the third. You're seeing the other side saying Tom Aspinall quit. You never got to stop that fight. You're hearing a lot of former UFC fighters. I've been poked in the eye several times, and there's no way that you're going to stop this fight. And Tom Aspinall is soft because he stopped the fight. And then you're hearing people down the middle, like, it was an accident. I get the no contest. It's just a bummer for the fans, this, that, and the third. I don't think Tom Aspinall did himself any favors when he released the pictures of his eye after, and it looked completely fine. Like, it just looked like there was a little bit of blood on it, but, he was, And it also didn't help the fact that I don't think there was much argument that before the no contest was ruled, he was losing. Tom Aspinall was losing. And now you're hearing a sector of people say, well, this was the first time in his career that Tom Aspinall's back was against the ropes. Tom Aspinall it looked like, at least round one, that he was losing. And that's the one fight, the one that you don't have control over handedly, that you essentially bow out of. Now, again, I can't sit here and say I know how it feels to get poked in the eye from a UFC fight, from a fight in general, because I'm not out here fighting nobody. You know what I mean? And I'm not in that world. But what I will say is this: because a lot of people are saying, I don't know zero gain. I don't know if it was intentional or not. I think a lot of people are trying to connect zero gain to John Bones Jones, who has come out and said that he intentionally pokes people in the eye, which is an illegal move. If it was on purpose, then I understand completely why people are saying that, which it doesn't look like it was. I watched the fight. It didn't look like it was, but if it was intentional, I understand why people are saying, and I do believe that he should have been disqualified, meaning that Tom Aspinall gets the win. But if it was not intentional, and Tom Aspinall actually could see, because again, it did not help that screenshot that he put out with him showing his eye, and it looked like perfectly fine. Even the doctor, I believe, said it looks fine. Maybe in the moment it hurt and stung, but the closest thing that I've ever had was I had sweat going to my eye. Shit burned. But it's just a bummer, you know. It's just a bummer. Because again, there was a lot of things that could have been answered. There's a lot of paths, a lot of quests, you could say, that could have been complete. I think that a lot of people that had questions about the validity of Tom Aspinall's heavyweight reign, I think would have been answered, would have been justified that, oh, he is a legitimate heavyweight champion. People that was questioning a zero gain is still good after the John Bones Jones just tear. Like he just got destroyed. He looked really good. Again, he was winning the fight before all this happened. And it's a nightmare, bruh, for the UFC. Again, man, we're talking about, this is a business, man, and yeah, that was one of the most disastrous losses or endings, because this is a business, and that is a bad form of business. I don't now. Yeah, you can always do a rematch or whatever. But that's, it doesn't have the same oomph because of how this one ended. And what's even worse is that's not even the first controversial fight or ending to a fight on this card, on UFC 321. So yeah, again, I'm never going to sit here and act like I know how it is to be in the UFC or octagon. I'm never going to do that. I know that's just not my domain. That's just not my world. But it does suck how that fight ended. Seeing as though it looked like to be a really good fight, I hope it doesn't look like he did, but I hope Zero Gain didn't do it on purpose. I hope Tom Aspinall's okay. They're saying that the next fight might be in December, but we don't know because of this, Tom Aspinall could be medically suspended until he gets right. It's just a lot. Disastrous. But we'll see, man. We will see. Let's go over to football. And let's talk about what we saw this week in football. The game of the week, in my opinion, the most talked about game, the game that had a lot more implications going in than any other game, in my opinion, was the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Green Bay Packers. We know the backstory with Aaron Rodgers. Built a Hall of Fame career in Green Bay, and then obviously he's not in Green Bay after the Packers drafted Jordan Love, who is currently the quarterback, and we just know the backstory to that. Did you know that Green Bay is essentially, since Brett Favre, they've only had 3 quarterbacks? Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Jordan Love. And it's funny. I'm not saying that it's going to end this way with Jordan Love, but it's funny that almost the same exact way it ended, or Aaron Rodgers' tenure almost the same exact way that Brett Favre's tenure ended with Green Bay. That's how Aaron Rodgers' tenure ended. And both these teams have high hopes going into this season. This is kind of an all-in season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You get Aaron Rodgers, you get someone like DK Metcalf, you get someone like Jalen Ramsey. You pay TJ Watt. You expect to win now. And Green Bay, same thing. They're one of the best. They've been one of the best teams for a minute now. You get Michael Parsons and sign him to a huge contract. You're expecting to win now. Well, on Sunday, the Packers won 35-25. I want to say it like this. You're seeing 2 teams that are experiencing issues, just not in the same way. And what I mean by that is, you look at the numbers, and you ask yourself, Jay, how is the Green Bay Packers struggling? Right now, they're 5-1-1. Just this game, Jordan Love had 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tucker Kraft, who has emerged as one of the better tight ends in the league, 7 catches for 143 yards. He was the leading pass catcher. Emmanuel Watson, who is the backup running back, he had 11 carries for 61 yards, while Josh Jacobs had 33 yards on 13 carries. How can you say that the Packers are struggling? It's not as much struggling as they're not playing up to potential. A game like this, if you look at the game, there were several instances where the Packers should have gone up a lot more than just 10 points. And it expands from what we've seen majority of the season. The Packers have not played since game 1, right? The Packers have not played up to snuff, even though you can look and say, bro, they're 5-1-1. A lot of these games have been squeak-out games. And when you have a defense as stout, at least on paper, as the Green Bay Packers, when you have an offense as stout, at least on paper, as the Green Bay Packers, you would expect their games to be a lot more decided early than late. And I still, because of just how talented they are, and you see flashes even in these games, I still believe that The Green Bay Packers is a Super Bowl caliber team. Hell, I picked them to make the Super Bowl. But there are times when I'm not going to say I regret, but it's almost blasphemy to think that this team is a Super Bowl caliber team. They just don't. And I'm not trying to crap on them. Let me first say that. Or let me continue by saying that. I'm not. But that's just the God honest truth. Even in this game, you're going up against a team whose defense just seems broken. And I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Because they did win the game. In Pittsburgh, I'd add. And the last time that the Green Bay Packers won a game against Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback. So, maybe I'm just being a little too harsh. Maybe I'll just take, congratulations to the Green Bay Packers. Because they are still a good team. Michael Parsons has fit in perfectly. Christian Watson came back from injury, and he 4 catches for 85 yards. I'm sorry. This team is only getting healthier. So maybe. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers side, man, I talked about it, man, and I said this last week. This is a poorly built team. This is a team that how do I say this? When you're hoping that your star unit, your prized unit, or let me say it like this. The Pittsburgh Steelers banked on their defense being stout, banked on their defense being one of the best defenses in football. You heard that in training camp when you heard people say that, oh, this is the best defense I've ever seen. This is the best defense I've ever been on, You got Jalen Ramsey. You got T.J. Watt. You still have Cam Hayward. You still have Joey Porter. You expect this defense to be stout. And because of that, it allows you to maybe say, okay, we're going to pay DK, we're going to pay Aaron Rodgers, or we're going to get Aaron Rodgers. We don't really need to focus on a second wide receiver. In fact, we'll let George Pickens go because he's become more of a headache than anything. We don't need to really focus on the offensive line. We don't really need to focus on the running back position. We have Jaylen Warren. But you're also seeing what happens when your plans don't go the way that you think they were, because their defense is not good at all. No offense but their defense is not good. And it looks like Deshaun Elliott, he might be out because so with their defense not being good, you put a lot of emphasis and a lot of pressure on the offense. An offense that was not expected to have a lot of pressure, which is why you see Aaron Rodgers upset, yelling at players, which is why, it's easy to really stop this offense because the offensive line is still not great. So all you really have to do is double team DK, and in this game, Roman Wilson was the number one receiver with 74 catches for 74 yards. I think that's why, one of the reasons why, there's still people that have faith. And I know that I picked them to go to the Super Bowl and ultimately win it, but my faith has been shaken. But that's the reason why there's so many people that still believe that the Ravens can win. And there's a lot of people, or Ravens can win the division. There's a lot of people that kind of predicted the Pittsburgh Steelers' downfall because this is a poorly built team. And a team that was just, 4-1? or 4-0 is now 4-3. And you lose. Actually, I think they're on a 2-game losing streak because I know they lost to the Bengals, but still. You lose games like this because the team that you built isn't producing in the way that you would hope they would. Plain and simple. But congratulations to the Green Bay Packers for beating the Pittsburgh Steelers 35-25. You remember when I said that the NFL is sort of an open book test? What I meant by that is everything that you are looking for has been done before, both good or bad. And I also understand that there are some teams that feel that even though it's been done before, we are the exception. I believe that has to be what the Cowboys and Jerry Jones believes. Because, again, you don't even go back far. All you have to do is go back to last year. The Denver Broncos beat the Cowboys 44-24. Last year, and I talk about this almost every week. It's almost like a broken record. Last year, the Cincinnati Bengals was the perfect example for a lot of things. One thing that it was an example for is be very careful trying to rely on your offensive line or your offense to carry an entire team. Because that's not sustainable. Last year, the Cincinnati Bengals had one of the best offenses in football. When you talk about, obviously, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I say this almost every week, he would have been the MVP if they would have made the playoffs. He definitely had MVP numbers. But they didn't make the playoffs. And the reason why they didn't make the playoffs was because of their defense. I don't understand how any team can look at that and think to yourselves, I know that was just the Bengals. I know they have, Hall of Fame talent at both the quarterback and wide receiver position. I know that. And even that Hall of Fame talent didn't get them to the Super Bowl or didn't get them to the playoffs, but we're different. Don't get me wrong, bro. The Dallas Cowboys, man, and I'm saying this as objectively as possible because we all know that I'm a Commanders fan, but the Dak Prescott has been playing the best he can possibly play. He didn't have a good game against the Broncos, but he's been playing as an MVP candidate up to this point. CeeDee Lamb's been out, but George Pickens, that's been a good fit. Javonte Williams has been a good fit. This Dallas Cowboys offense has been good up to this point. And even still, they're 3-4. Because their defense is just horrible. Who would have thought? You trade your best defensive player and now your defense sucks. And I will say this. I've been uber critical on the Denver Broncos, more specifically the offense, more specifically Bo Nix. This is probably one of the best games that he's played. Bo Nix, 19 for 29, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. This was probably the best game that he's played. He was decisive. He was quick with his decisions. He played incredible. But for the life of me, I don't and I know where it starts with it starts and ends with Jerry Jones. You can't look at. There's no way you can think that this team in any way, shape, or form is a Super Bowl caliber team when you're scoring 30, 35 points a game, even though you didn't do it this game, but you're scoring 30, 35 points a game. Your offense is putting up numbers, but you're 3-4 now. Again, an open book test. Everything that you want to know has happened before. It's just up to you to take it. And quiet as it's kept, bro. The Denver Broncos is, I think, tied for second or third in the division at 6-2. That's crazy. Denver Broncos is looking like a real threat now. I was wrong. I was extremely wrong. They're looking like a threat in the AFC. They're looking like a tough out for anybody. Even though Patrick Surtain went out, hope he's okay. But yeah, congratulations to the Denver Broncos for beating the Cowboys 44-27. The Cowboys, there's no way in heaven or hell. They're probably gonna make the playoffs, but there's no way in heaven or hell you think that this team is a Super Bowl caliber team. And they can't stop anyone. To me, the most shocking game was the Jets getting their first win of the season against the Cincinnati Bengals, 39-38. Let me address a couple things before I talk about this game. I think Justin Fields came out during the press conference after the game. It was essentially saying that, this was a really tough week for him. He was crying. It took, I guess, encouraging words from his loved ones to bring up his spirit. And this also comes off the back of not only the Jets not having a win, but essentially his GM coming out and defending Aaron Glenn while crapping on Justin Fields. Now, quad is kept. If you want to say something positive about Justin Fields, he's the only starting quarterback in the league that does not have an interception. So there's that. He's also the only starting quarterback in the league that has multiple games where he has under 80 yards for the entire game. I was listening to Herm Edwards talk, and he was saying how much weight winless is on a team. How much weight that 0 in the wins column puts on a team. And I can imagine how that is for the Jets. The Jets have a good roster. I've been saying that, bro, with Breece Hall and obviously Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, William. Like, they have a good roster. They just weren't winning. Like, you have Jermaine Jones, like Will McDonald. They have a good roster. They just weren't winning. But they got their first win against the Cincinnati Bengals. And they looked like they was dead to water. Like, it looked like the Cincinnati Bengals was about to jump. I think they damn near had a 20-point lead at one point, and which kind of goes back to what I just said about the Dallas Cowboys. It clearly was this. It wasn't offense. Joe Flacco did he have a turnover? Joe Flacco did not throw an interception. 21 for 34, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. The issue with this game, though, and shout out to Club Shay Shay, shout out to Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco or Chad Johnson. They pretty much said what I was thinking. Look, I know the importance of getting the ball to your best players and how that is a cheat code. Like, when you have a player as good as someone like Jamar Chase, someone as good as, I don't know, let's go to another team. Someone as good as Justin Jefferson. I understand the idea of force feeding. Sometimes that's what you need to do. Sometimes that's important. The key word in that sentence was sometimes. When you leave a game and Jamar Chase has 19 targets and the next best player or the next best receiver, the next receiver in general has 2 targets. In fact, when all your receivers combined, T. Higgins, Noah Fant, Chase, all the people that got receiving targets, T. Higgins, Noah Fant, Chase Brown, Tanner Hudson, Samaje P. Ryan, and Andre I forgot how to say his name. But when all of them, I apologize. When all of them combined have less targets than Jamar Chase, and this is like the second or third game in a row that this has happened, you're essentially a predictable offense. You're essentially a predictable team. And the defense is still bad, which is, you gave up 39 points. But if you don't, and we're not, T. Higgins is not no slouch. He's arguably the second or the best second option in the league. Just to get 2, and you just paid him just to get 2 targets is crazy. The defense ain't doing nothing. So, yeah. Now you're 3-5. And congratulations to the New York Jets for getting their first win against the Bengals. The Bengals lost to an 0-7 team. Congratulations to the Jets. 39-38. Hey, look, I hope for a speedy recovery for Cam Scatterboo. The way that his ankle looked, he's done for the season. That joint's broken. It is what it is. Philadelphia Eagles beat the Giants 38-20. I think it's almost. I think we're looking at one of these instances where you have to trade A.J. Brown. And this is no indictment on A.J. Brown. This is actually the biggest compliment that you can get from A.J. This is a compliment both on A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles don't need A.J. Brown, especially when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles that we saw this game is how they want to operate. Saquon Barkley had 14 carries for 150 yards. Tank Bigsby had 9 carries for 104 yards. And Devontae Smith had 6 receptions for 84 yards. Dallas Goedert had 28 yards for 2 touchdowns. This is how they want to play. They are a run-first team, just sprinkling a little bit passing when they need to. Jalen Hurts didn't throw for 200. He only threw for 150 or 79 yards and ran for 22 yards. So he just had, 201 yards total? This is how the Philadelphia Eagles want to operate. And when you have a player as good, again, I said that he's arguably a top 5 receiver, and he's unhappy. This is when they play the way that they want to play. You see what the score is. They put up 38 points on the Giants. Now, I will say that the Giants secondary, not only were they damn near all injured, but they were playing people in their secondary that this was the first time they had an NFL snap. So, take that with a grain of salt, but this is how they want to play. You kind of got to trade. You got to trade A.J. Brown because you don't need him. And this is how you want to play. And he's a wide receiver that needs and wants a high volume of targets. That's not going to be in this offense. Or at least that's not going to be in this offense, and it expects to be successful doing that. No. This team is good without him. They're good with him, obviously, but it's good without him. And this is how they want to play. 14 carries, 150 yards for Saquon Barkley. Tank Bigsby and Barkley combined for 23 carries for 254 yards. If you want to add Jalen Hurts, that's 276 yards. You don't need A.J. Brown, bro. I think they should trade him. I don't know if they will, but who knows. And for the Giants, look, Jackson Dart is cool, man. He's good. He might even be a franchise player, or franchise quarterback. But when your whole secondary is pretty much out and you don't have now Cam Scatterboo moving forward, you don't have Malik Neighbors moving forward. I don't know bro. Wandale Robinson was your number 1 receiver with 48 yards. I don't know what you expect from that. And when your entire secondary is pretty much hurt, that if you don't get to the quarterback, which shout out to the Giants pass rush, they did have 4 sacks. But if you don't get to the quarterback, then you're just slim pickings. It's feasting time on that secondary. And the offensive line still ain't good. Jackson Dart had 5 sacks. Or took 5 sacks. That's why I said that this team is directionless. Shout out to Bleacher Report. I think they had an article about it, but I agree. This team is directionless. What is the direction? Because you can say, okay, well, we have Jackson Dart. We have our starting quarterback of the future. We have our starting running back of the future. We have our starting wide receiver of the future. Okay, what about the offensive line? You can say you have the defensive front, but let me see something. How old? They've had a good defensive front for the longest. What has that done for them? I don't know, man. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for beating the Giants 38-20. Let's sit on this game for a second. The New England. Why do I keep saying Pittsburgh Steelers? The New England Patriots beat the Cleveland Browns 32-13. Let's just focus on the Patriots for a second. This is one of the best teams in the AFC, surprisingly. Drake May was incredible yet again, 18 for 24, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah, man, this team is good. The defense has been incredible. Mike Vrabel has been, I think, early early candidate for Coach of the Year. His team has been great, and this team is starting to look like one of those teams that you do not want to face in the AFC. It's just, and the thing is, their biggest acquisition in the offseason, which is Stephon Diggs, hasn't really done much, and they still have been great. Ramondre Stevenson had 14 carries. Ramondre Stevenson, had 14 carries for 34 yards. Travion Henderson actually had a decent game, 10 carries for 75 yards. Like, Drake May had 7 carries for 50 yards. Damn. This team is good. This team is really good. As much as I don't want to admit it, this team is good. And, yeah, man, this team is a tough out. Now let's focus on the Cleveland Browns for a second. Because there's 2 points that I really want to hit on before we move on. It's clear as day what's happening. There's no point of dressing it up. There's no point of sugarcoating. There's no point of dancing around it. We know what's happening. Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns organization are invested and devoted to making Dylan Gabriel work, even though almost every sign is showing you that he's not an NFL quarterback. And it doesn't matter what people say. They just do not want to start Shedeur Sanders. They said that Shedeur Sanders got hurt in a walkthrough. How do you get hurt in a walkthrough? Just throwing the ball. Even though we've seen video of him just throwing the ball around, he got hurt. And what it kind of feels like is the Cleveland Browns have said, to hell with winning. To hell with doing what's right for the team. They want to make sure that if they're going to go down, they're going to go down making their decision. Even if their decision is not the best decision. Now, I know that you drafted Dylan Gabriel before you drafted Shedeur Sanders, so obviously you're going to give more opportunity to them or to Gabriel than Sanders. However, with all the opportunity that Dylan Gabriel has gotten, he hasn't looked good at all. Even in the game that they just won against the Dolphins, that was more of Kenyon Jenkins running amok. It's clear that there's no pathway, at least to this point. There's no pathway of success for Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland because they don't want him to succeed in Cleveland. Because from what reports are saying, even in practice, even though he doesn't get really first team reps, even in practice it shows there's a clear divide clear divide in skill between Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And it seems like every single time we hear about Shedeur Sanders and Cleveland Browns, it's something else that has absolutely nothing to do with him finally starting. And I also do want to shed light on this. This right here It's the reason why someone like Cam Newton couldn't be a backup. This is the reason why someone like Tim Tebow struggled to be a backup, because this is what we talk about in a sense of no team wants every single time their starting quarterback that isn't a more popular name struggles. All the media is going to talk about is what about the backup. Because I will say this. Again, all the report I wouldn't be talking about this if, well, yes, I like Shadur Sanders. If Shadur Sanders didn't look like a starting quarterback or didn't look like a quarterback that could play in the league, then I wouldn't say anything about it. But when you hear scouts, insiders all say that Shadur Sanders has sort of outperformed Dylan Gabriel, what do you expect? Yet and still, Kevin Stefanski is adamant in saying, yo, Dylan Gabriel's the guy. Okay. That just proves to me that you absolutely don't care about winning. You just care about being right. And that is kind of how you lose a locker room. I'm not just talking about Kevin Stefanski. I'm just saying that's how an organization loses the locker room. Because it seems like the organization just wants to be right. They don't care about putting the best product on the field. Which brings me to point number 2. Myles Garrett. I'm beyond the point of what did you expect? I'm beyond the point of this is the decision you made. I hope that this is a prime and a clear example of how important a quarterback is to a team. Because it is no question that the Cleveland Browns has the best defender in football by far. There's not a defender in football that is close to Myles Garrett. Patrick Surtain has been good, but there's not a defender in football that's close to Myles Garrett. He had 5 sacks on the day, which is a franchise record for one game. And they still lost by damn near 20. And as great as Myles Garrett has been, they're 2-6. So, I mean, I guess the caveat is at least you're getting paid to suck. So, yeah. Let's move forward. Now, the Baltimore Ravens. This was a loud week for the Baltimore Ravens. Last week was a loud week for the Ravens. The Ravens beat the Chicago Bears 30-16. Now, everyone thought that this was going to be the week that we see Lamar Jackson come back. He missed 2 previous games with a hamstring injury. He had a bye week, and you thought this was going to be the game where he comes back, and a lot of people expected the Ravens to get back on track. And the Ravens even said, he was a full participant. Then all of a sudden, like the next day, he said, well, he wasn't. He was a partial participant. And then the next day, he said, oh, he's out for the game. Like, whoa. Whoa. What happened? How do you go from full participant to partial participant to not playing? Whoa. To the point where they might get, like, heavily in trouble. Because you can't falsify. They're talking about getting fined and losing draft picks. Like, yikes. So when I heard that, Lamar Jackson's not playing, it's going to be Tyler Huntley, I said, this game is over. This season is done. Wrap it up. Put it in the coffin, And to my shock, and shout out to the Baltimore Ravens and Tyler Huntley, Snoop Huntley, they won handedly, pretty much. He didn't have to do much. It's 168 yards, one touchdown. Derrick Henry ran for 71 yards and two touchdowns. Tyler Huntley did rush for 53 yards. Keaton Mitchell ran for 34 yards. Like he didn't have to do much. I'm not saying that the season is back on track because you have to essentially win out, but the defense played really well. And this is the first. Now you play Thursday, which now that I sit here and think about it, it makes sense why Lamar Jackson would miss this game because you have to play on. They play on Thursday as well, so they have a short week. So let him sit this game out. That means you had all the faith in the world in your team to play. Go, yeah, and then you just play the Dolphins. So or they play the Dolphins on Thursday. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this makes sense. Now on the Bears side, I think questions. I know. I think you can hear it. Fans are upset. The thing. People are upset with Caleb Williams. This is probably one of the worst losses of the season for this team. You're essentially fully healthy. You're going up against a team that at that time was 1-5. You're going up against a team that had all the confidence in the world they can beat you because Lamar Jackson was supposed to be coming back, just to find out maybe 2 days before Lamar Jackson is not, in fact, playing. And you're going up against Tyler Huntley, who is kind of the third round or third string quarterback behind Cooper Rush. And even though the numbers may not show it, Tyler Huntley thoroughly outplayed number one overall pick Caleb Williams. Thoroughly. To the point where, again, I know Tyler Huntley only had 186 passing yards and Caleb Williams had 285. But if you look at the QBR, Caleb Williams had a 62.5 QBR while Tyler Huntley had a 90.1. The passer rating, Caleb Williams 77.2 when Tyler Huntley had 116.9. So you're essentially getting outplayed by second string / third string quarterbacks. Mind you, we're still talking about a team that struggled. The top receiver for the Ravens had 63 yards, and that was Zay Flowers. Derrick Henry didn't even rush for 100 yards. And this team couldn't. Rome Odunze did his part, 7 receptions for 114 yards. DJ Moore, 73 yards. It's just, when you needed Caleb Williams to be great, he couldn't, and that is the alarming thing. This is probably the most alarming loss for the Bears. So, but we'll see what happens. The Dolphins got their second win of the season and beat the Falcons 34-10. Yo, Tua had they said Tua woke up with like a puffy eye, and you can see it. His eye was damn near closed. And, yo, this was probably the worst case scenario for Kirk Cousins, man. Kirk Cousins was god-awful. 173 yards. QBR of 35.5. For some reason, yet again, Bijan Robinson only had 9 carries for 25 yards. I guess because you were down, you had to throw the ball, but I know Drake London didn't play, but Kyle Pitts couldn't even get 10 targets, nine targets, 9 receptions for 59 yards. This Falcons team is not good. With all the talent that they have, especially on the offense side of the ball. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is just Kirk Cousins. I feel like if Michael Penix was playing, it probably would have got beat like this again because this is just their game plan. I'm not saying it's someone that thinks that 9 carries is enough for one of the best running backs in the league against a team that can't really stop the run, which has been proven. The Dolphins' run defense is god-awful. And you had 17 combined rushing attempts. To put that into perspective, the Ravens and Derrick Henry had 21 carries. And Bijan Robinson had 9. Devon Achane had 18. Ollie Gordon, the second, had 10. Yeah, man, this team is not that good, bro. The Bucs are just extremely blessed to be in the NFC South. I'm telling you. Congratulations to the Miami Dolphins for beating the Atlanta Falcons. Hey, I will say this. The Houston Texans beat the San Francisco 49ers 26-15. This Houston Texans team is starting to look more and more like the team that you thought you were going to get. This year, C.J. Stroud looked really good, 318 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The defense, we knew the defense was going to be good. They have one of the best defenses in the league. If their offense can keep up, because, again, they didn't even have, I don't think they had Nico Collins this game. They can be really good. It's just their offense needs to keep up. Their offense needs to keep, but they're looking good. And yes, you're going against a depleted San Francisco team, but how does Christian McCaffrey only have 8 carries? That's crazy. Yeah, the whole defense for the San Francisco 49ers is essentially depleted, or at least all their best players. But yeah, this is the Houston Texans are starting to look pretty good. That's all I'm saying. Congratulations to them. I don't need to talk much about this game. The Bucs beat the Saints 23-3. I will say this though. This was the first game where Baker Mayfield didn't look good at all, but I do think a lot of the reason why he didn't look good is because all of his top receivers are out. I mean, your number one Jalen. Emeka Ibuka, he played, but he was still hobbled. He only had 3 catches for 35 yards. Your top receiver was Tez Bryant. Shout out Oregon. Yeah, the offense didn't look good at all. It was really the defense. The defense was great. It had 5 sacks on the day, 2 interceptions. They were great. The defense really carried this team, and that's the scariest part because you're hoping that you might get Mike Evans back. You're hoping that you get Chris Godwin back. Emeka Ibuka gets healthier. Bucky Irving comes back. Like once this team gets fully healthy, yeah, it's a scary sight. But yeah, they didn't look good. The offense didn't look good at all. But again, damn near the entire offense is hurt. So, and for the Saints, Spencer Rattler got benched for Tyler Shaw, and they both combined for 227 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Alvin Kamara 6 carries for 21 yards. Yeah, I don't talk about that much longer. Let's move on. Oh my gosh. Hey man, I told you guys it was gonna happen. No Jaden Daniels. I will say Terry McLaurin did look really good. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Washington Commanders 28-7. Marcus Mariota just couldn't get it done. Even though he did have 2 interceptions, one of those interceptions was off of the hands of the receiver. Just like Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions. One of them was clearly Travis Kelce's fault. But, yeah, man, he didn't have JD5. Terry McLaurin did look okay. 3 catches for 54 yards. I think that it might have been closer if Jaden Daniels played, but you're also talking about a defense that's not that good. Washington's defense isn't that good, so. And Patrick Mahomes looks like he is the front runner for the MVP at this point. And the Kansas City Chiefs look pretty good, even though they didn't look great at the beginning of the game. I think that they were probably with Jaden Daniels not being there. They're probably looking ahead of next week, which is Sunday Night Football. Them going to Buffalo, I believe, and playing. So they probably were like overlooking this game until they were like, hold on, let's. All right, come on. Yeah. So congratulations to Kansas City Chiefs for beating the Washington Commanders. And lastly, the Buffalo Bills beat the Carolina Panthers 40-9. I will say that the Buffalo Bills are much better when Josh Allen isn't doing everything. And I don't mean that no disrespect. I mean, we're talking about a reigning MVP. But James Cook had 19 carries for 216 yards. When Josh Allen doesn't have to be Superman, this team is damn near unstoppable. Mind you, the defense isn't that great either. I know it's still injured and but even fully healthy, the defense isn't that great. But when Josh Allen has to do everything, that is not a recipe for success, at least in the playoffs. So when you have a great running game, I hope when you have a great running game, when James Cook is running like this, it's damn near impossible to beat them. For the Carolina Panthers, I don't know, y'all suck. I'm sorry. Andy Dalton. I don't know what to tell y'all, bro. Y'all not good. And there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly appreciate you guys. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible. If you like the content, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe that you know is not subscribed. It means a lot. Again, I'm trying to grow, and I cannot do it without you guys. Also, please, for the DSPs, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your DSPs, wherever you hear this luscious voice, please follow. It definitely means a lot. Rate, comment, share. I'm trying to grow the podcast unilaterally, and I cannot do without you guys' help, so I appreciate you all. Also, for my socials, Instagram, TikTok, SoundCloud, not SoundCloud, Facebook, wherever you follow me. I don't mind, comment, follow, share. I don't mind going back and forth. Not only does it mean that you're listening to me, but it also means that you care. Keep it respectful, and I don't mind. I don't mind going back and forth. Again, just keep it respectful. And that's I'm fine with that. Until next time, much love.